Hey guys, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today I have a pretty interesting video, at least in my opinion. Hopefully you think so too. Today we're going to be talking about 5 EDC knives that I should carry more. I have a lot of knives. I have too many knives. I have knives that I don't need. And in fact I think most of us have knives that we don't need. And I have some knives that I just don't carry. A lot of times if there's a pocket knife or a fixed blade for that matter, but today's video is pocket knives. If I have a knife that I don't carry, it's just kind of sitting around, normally I would sell it or get rid of it. I have a very bad habit of just giving away my knives to friends and family and not recuperating any of my expenses. But, usually I try and move them along. But there are some knives that stick around in my collection that don't get carried. And the reason these knives stick around varies. Sometimes it's because there's sentimental attachment, right? I've got memories with that knife, or it was given to me by someone special and I don't want to get rid of it. Sometimes it's just that I really, really like the design, but for whatever reason, just don't carry it. So today we're going to look at 5 knives that I should carry more. And I will attempt to carry more in the new year. Come on, New Year's resolution, right? Anyways, let's start this list off with a fun one. This one's got an interesting story. This is the Steel Will Modus. You guys may recognize this knife. I reviewed it a long time ago. A very, very long time ago. And I actually got rid of it. Shortly after I reviewed it, I sold it to a friend. And then I got to missing it. And so I bought another one. I bought one that was green, and I think it had an orange backspacer. Or was it blue? I can't remember. Either way, I know that the scales were green. And so sold it to a friend, bought a new one, and a little while later, like a couple months later, me and that friend happened to be at the same time, same place. I think we're helping someone move. I can't remember. But he had his Modus and I had mine. I pulled mine out and I was using it. He's like, ooh, I love that green color. And he pulled out his and I'm like, man, I forgot how much I like that aquamarine backspacer with that blue. Do you want to? So we just traded. I gave him the green one and he gave me this one. And I carried it for a while after that, and then it disappeared into my knife box for like a year. So, I pulled it out recently. This is a good knife. It really is. You've got a fantastic blade shape here. These are a great value. Running on washers, and it's a flipper, so the detent is dialed. Really, really cool there. It's a great knife for using in a dirty environment, right? In fact, I made a video about this where I called it a dirty use folder. Ergonomics are nice. It's also a pretty non-threatening knife. These kind of outlandish colors make this pretty socially acceptable in my experience. You can pull this out, and even if people around you aren't knife people, they tend not to be threatened by this because it kind of looks fun, a little bit cartoony, you might say. But definitely a cool knife. It is a budget knife, and that blade shape's fantastic. I don't know why I don't carry this knife anymore. It might be just because there's a lot of really good budget knives these days. Let's be honest. Knives are getting pretty good. As a reviewer, I'm struggling to find things wrong with a knife. Unless a knife is absolute trash, like it's falling apart, normally all my complaints are just personal nitpicks, right? People are getting really good at making knives, And maybe it's just better options, but I don't know. It's a cool knife and definitely deserves a little more pocket time. Alrighty, next. This is one that I've had for a long, long time. The CRKT Fossil. So this knife is kind of special for me because I bought this knife when I was, phone ringing. Sorry about that. What I was saying was, I bought this knife when I graduated high school. And so, in that way, it has a sentimental value to me, and it's never going anywhere. And it also just kind of fits my entire everything. You know, it's called the Fossil. You guys already know. Studying to be a paleontologist. I've got tons of fossils laying around here right now. Here's a beautiful, beautiful leaf fossil. Of course, I've got tons and tons of brachiopods just everywhere. Here's 2 in 1. So it's a cool knife. I carried it for a long time. I mean, it got me through the summer after I graduated. It was one of the knives I carried the most as a freshman in college. And yeah, it's a really cool looking knife. You know, I gotta give it that. But I haven't carried it recently because it does have some issues. The center, it does not stay centered. I took this apart and I Loctited it like 4 days ago, and it's been just sitting, waiting to be Loctited until this video, and as I was flipping it now, it's coming off centered. Not sure what that is. And it's a little bit bigger and bulkier than I would prefer. If I must be honest, I think I'm going to get another one. Austin has one of the newer, updated versions, and it has a lot of improvements that I like. It has a deep carry pocket clip that's really cool. It has a chamfer around the hole, which is something... This thing is a fingernail shaver. This hole is pretty sharp. And I might get the small one. I know, it's... I love big knives, but in the context that I would carry this one in, I would probably prefer the smaller one. Great action. Looks wicked. Cool knife. Never going anywhere, but yeah, you know, maybe I should carry it more. Alrighty, the next knife is one that I have actually been carrying more recently. You've probably seen it pop up on Instagram and stuff. I'm working on getting it reviewed. I should also probably review the fossil. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll get a mini fossil to review. But this is the CJRB Crag. And I love this knife. This knife is absolutely fantastic. I made a short about it a while back, you know, just kind of talking about the recoil lock that it has here and why, you know, just pondering why Artisan doesn't use it anymore. I like the recoil lock. I think it's really good, especially on this. I mean, it's basically an axis lock type deal, but they got a pretty good flipper out of it. I'd love to see them do stuff like thumb studs or finger holes. This knife I can actually reverse flick off the blade. But yeah, this knife it's really cool. It's very ergonomic. It's very wieldy, I guess. You can choke up in here. It feels so good in my hand. This is probably one of the most comfortable folding knives ever. It's D2 steel, cleaver blade, but this is a really useful blade shape, honestly. You got a nice tip, get to your utility cuts, you got a little bit of belly, do some slicing. All in all, it's a really nice knife. One complaint I have with this is the scales are a little bit slippery, so sometimes manipulating the lock is a little bit of a task, a little bit of a chore. But Austin, Jesus, bring up Austin's collection a lot today. He has one exactly like this, except it's G10 instead of this carbon fiber laminate. And his is wonderful because the G10 is grippy, and it really does change the entire knife. Especially, I mean, another thing I love about these is that they're cheap. Look at that pivot collar, looks good. But I don't know why. Well, I think the reason I haven't carried this knife in a while is unlike there being positive emotions connected to the fossil, there's negative emotions connected with this guy. I remember the last time I carried this in a while. Again, I've been carrying it more recently, but the last time I carried it before I started carrying it seriously, I was up visiting my folks, and I took a drive that day. I had this. I went out towards Red River just to see the sights, and came back home. And that evening, the UPS driver ran over the family dog, you know, the dog I grew up with. And gosh, I was mad. We had told that guy time and time again not to come. We've got a long road that comes from the highway to the ranch, and we told him time and time again, do not drive in here like a maniac, which he would. We have kids, we've got animals. We don't want anyone getting hurt, including yourself if you hit a cow. But he ran over our dog, and I jumped in my truck, and I took off after him. I was going to, not even sure what I was going to do. Honestly, I was just going to follow him back to his base, I guess, and I don't know, it probably would have been pretty bad, but my dad called me, talked me down. I came back, but that evening I was sitting on the couch, I was flicking this knife. I wasn't really paying attention, and I dropped it down while my fingers were here, and I cut myself pretty bad, especially on this finger, and then it also got the tops of my other two, but this one was pretty bad. And I was mad. I was already mad that night, so you were cussing out the knife and bandaged myself up, and I threw it in my box and just kind of forgot about it. And then I pulled it out a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what? That's a really good knife. And so I've been carrying it periodically, and I think I'll continue to carry it because it is a really excellent EDC knife. But cool knife there. Really do like that. All right. Next knife. This is a Civivi. It's the Insight. This is a fancy version, as you can see. The Insight is actually discontinued, but I bought this knife, and it's become kind of I call it my Christmas knife. I carry this knife every Christmas for some reason, just because it looks Christmassy, right? So this is like my Christmas knife, and that's like the only time I carry it. Which is a shame because it's a really good knife. In fact, I think this design might even be a little bit better than the Praxis. Super comfortable. You do have a choil. The clip on this one is excellent. Sunk into the copper shred carbon fiber and with flat screws. It's really cool. Beautiful Damascus. Really, really neat. Oh, look at that. We can see myself filming. Just a really cool knife. It's got a good action. Not great, but it is a good action. It's a very good action. But why don't I carry it more? Well, I bought another one of these a long time ago. It was the blue G10 with like the carbon fiber on it version. And someone at the Postal Service decided to steal that from me. So that kind of sucked. And I don't know, I think maybe it's just a little bit too pretty, too flashy for me to carry. But, it's a really dang good user. And I don't know, it basically just sits in its pouch. Sometimes I pull it out just to look at it because it's pretty. And then the only time it really goes in my pocket is around Christmas. Do any of you have any weird, knife traditions? Or I don't know, maybe maybe I should just be put in a straitjacket and locked away. But I don't know. I just always reserve it for Christmas time, and not sure why. I totally should carry it more. We'll see. Alrighty, the last knife. This is a really cool knife that I really have no excuse not to carry. The Concept Hell X. So I did get this knife from Sharp & Blade. He won it from Grateful Panic, did a giveaway, and then Sharp & Blade was like, send it to Gideon. And I love this knife. I really do. Mikkel Williamson design. Super comfortable. It's a big knife. It's a really big knife. S35VN, titanium frame lock. Very good looking knife. But yeah, it is big. And maybe that's why I don't carry it all that much. But, again, I like big knives. I really do. And I carry big knives a lot. You guys know I carry a lot of Cold Steels and stuff. In fact, I've got a Cold Steel right here that I've been using in my pocket a little bit today. But, really I carry big knives primarily when I'm out in the woods. And I have taken this out in the woods, and it's done just fine. You know, no complaints there. I did sharpen it the other day. Got a pretty wicked edge on there now. But I think maybe the reason I don't get out in the woods that much is because of the bearings. I've had, you know, bearings do get gummed up, you know, if you're out working in a dirty environment. And I've never had issues with this one per se, but, you know, other knives. And so that's another one of those, I guess, weird mental blocks that I might need to just overcome, you know, and just take it out and use it. But I really do love the knife. It's fantastic. Good cutter, you know, with this really broad, flat grind. Very smooth. Really addicting action. It really is just a pretty incredible knife, and it deserves better. It deserves to be carried. It deserves pocket time. So that will absolutely be carried more this year. Absolutely. But that's going to be it for today's video. Just a quick little 5 knives that deserve to be carried more. I'd love to hear, do you have any knives in your collection that you should carry more? There's no good reason you don't, but for some reason they just don't find it in your pocket. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, leave it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.